Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rantz.
And welcome everyone to this week's edition of Sports Shorts TV presented by LeBear's Casino in Baton Rouge. Ronnie Rantz here with you in studio. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating. I hope you have a wonderful week with friends and family. We've got a great special show for you today. We're going to be joined by Bunnie Cannon in the first half hour of the show, and then Darry Beckwith, former LSU Tiger linebacker. We'll talk about the upcoming playoff game and against Oklahoma, NFL with the Saints, and a whole lot more. But first, thank you so much, Bunnie, for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Happy holidays to you and your mom, Dot. And, of course, Bunnie is the daughter of Dr. Bunnie Cannon, the first ever Heisman Trophy winner at LSU. We have to clarify, it's not the only, it's the first.
And that's a good thing to have to do now.
Well, I wanted to have you on because of obviously the timeliness of you getting a chance to go to New York like you do annually, be a part of the festivities, and you kind of coached me up on something. You've been volunteering and working with the Heisman Trust, helping put on, I guess, the weekend festivities for how many years now?
Well, I did it back in 2000, probably 6 or 7 years in a row, and then I stopped for a little while, went back in 2010. It's kind of an open invitation, and they only have 2 staff members that run all of the events. And so they rely on people to volunteer and to help. And so sure. I had the opportunity to do that many times.
I would think that finding volunteers to help wouldn't be that difficult. A lot of people want to be all around those great Heisman Trophy greats, but how often did your dad go back? How often did he go back?
He won it in '59, and then he didn't go back probably for 10 or 12 years. Okay. I think he went back one time after a decade or so when he was not playing any longer. And then it was Paul Manasseh, who was working at Sports Information. Paul Manasseh and I think Jimmy Taylor got him to go back in '92. Okay. And he was just kind of re-entering the Baton Rouge.
Public life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he went back then and just rekindled some friendships, and he was there 3 or 4 days, and then he went back a few more times after that. And then the last time he went back was in 2010 when they honored him for the 50th year.
Obviously this past couple weeks ago when you were there, it had to be not only special on a personal level as a volunteer and the LSU tie, but I'm sure memories came flooding back the whole time you were there, thinking back to, hey, what would my dad be thinking? What would this be like for him? I'm sure it had got very emotional for you.
I don't think there's anybody that could have been prouder than my dad if he would have been there. He's always waited to share this with somebody. And every year when he'd fill out that ballot, I know he put an LSU person on there every year. And some of the times when he got older, when it went to email, I know who he put because I'd have to send it back for him because he didn't do email. But he would have been thrilled. I don't think anybody would have had a smile on their face bigger than his.
What's interesting is it's when your dad won it in 1959 and now when Joe Burrow won it in 2019, so different, right?
Very different.
In 1959. How did your dad even find out he won the Heisman?
I think they called him. And they didn't send the top 3 or 4 people. They announced that he won the trophy, and then they flew up, his parents, and my mom. They were married at the time. And so it wasn't, it was a dinner. And if you'll see the old footage, there's people smoking on stage. And I think Richard Nixon gave him the trophy, but he couldn't lift it. And so he asked my dad to actually pick it up because it was too heavy for him. But they didn't have, they knew what the award was, but it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah, so, it was a big deal, and there was this great photo of him right there. It's a big deal that he won it, but when did the Heisman kind of become the Heisman? At what point, I guess, in his life did it really take off to the next level?
I think I wasn't born, I was just born then, but in the late 60s, early 70s is when I became aware of it. But I think in the 70s, 80s, it became a really big deal. I didn't realize the magnitude of it. It was in our house growing up, and it was another trophy, and it was right in the trophy case when you walked in the foyer. And it didn't mean anything to me. It was just a trophy. And then it wasn't until I got to LSU in '87 that I was like, whoa, this is something.
Right.
I didn't really understand. I knew what it was, but I didn't understand the magnitude.
So the Heisman Trophy was in your home when you were growing up.
It was in
I
our
mean,
house.
did friends come over? I mean, were friends and all, or not really a big deal to anybody?
The people who really knew us
Right.
had always seen it.
Right.
But yeah, there were a lot of people who just wanted to come in and just kind of take a peek.
Right.
You know, people, workers and such around the house would come in and just kind of take a peek because when you walk in the front door, it was right there in a trophy case that lined the foyer.
Sure.
So you couldn't help but see it. It was right there in the middle. And it wasn't until the mid '80s, I think, when one of his best friends was T.J. Moran.
Sure.
And he wanted people to see it. And he had made a comment on some talk show that he said, well, where is your Heisman located? He goes, oh, it's in the garage under a bunch of oily rags. Well, he was teasing, and people thought he was serious and he didn't care about the Heisman. And that was so far from the truth.
Right.
So he struck up a deal with TJ, and he said,
Right.
as long as I'm alive, this will be on display at your restaurant.
Well, that's the first time I saw it. I can remember I graduated high school in 1990, and I can remember coming into Baton Rouge in the late 80s, going to TJ Ribs, and I mean, and that's what it was all about. I mean, as soon as you walked in, there it was in the
there.
front. It was, I mean, it was you were in awe of it, and it stayed there for how long? About 20 years?
It's still there.
Is it still there?
Yeah. They moved it, and they're going to rebuild the case for it.
Oh,
but,
okay.
when my dad passed away in 2018, Burt Moran, TJ's son, called me and said, you know, I want to bring it back to you. And I talked to my mom, and my brothers and sisters agreed. No, people need to see it, and it's the only one of its kind because I think it's solid silver, because it was the 25th anniversary of the Heisman that he won it, and it's the only one like it.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so it needs
Sucker's
to be
worth a lot of money. A solid silver.
Well, and they keep it up. They have
Yeah.
it locked and it's insured, and you know, I don't want it in my house. I mean,
Sure.
I love it, but it's not something that you would keep in your house. So people need to see it.
That's pretty cool. Well, you know, that's the thing. You can have it in the lobby. And do they have a replica in the
Yes.
lobby at LSU?
Yeah.
So obviously the winner, in this case Joe Burrow this year, he'll have his Heisman that he can do whatever he wants with. I know he talks about putting it in his home in Ohio, and probably eventually it'll make its way to someplace more public like what you guys did. But it's his to have. Then there'll be a replica that LSU football will have.
Right.
And I guess it'll be in the lobby as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you get a replica for the school, and then you get
Right.
one for the individual.
And at some point, you know, our whole family wants my dad's entire collection to stay together. The Super Bowl ring, all the different things that he has, the LSU rings, his Heisman ring, all of his memorabilia, which is vast. We want his whole collection to stay together with the Heisman. We just don't have an avenue to put it on display.
Sure.
And so I'm hoping at some point that LSU will do something like a big Hall of Fame,
Right.
in conjunction maybe with alumni or something, so that we can donate that to LSU.
Well, I know I know that that's something that they would like to do. You know, the Jack Andoni Museum it's a great museum, and I urge someone to go by there and check out the cool collection next to Lod Cook over there by the LSU Lakes. But it's small, and they need more space. And I mean, that's the thing that all museums seems to that run into, is that, you know, there's never enough room for all the stuff that you have. But
and I think you would find if they would build it, they would have a lot more, because I know somebody who has literally the biggest sports collection I've ever seen in the way of helmets and jerseys.
right.
He would donate it if they could if they would do something.
If there's a proper place.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. We're talking with Bunnie Cannon, of course, the daughter of Dr. Billy Cannon, who passed away, I guess, about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
May
20th.
May 20th, and was laid to rest May 23rd, which was my birthday, and I remember that time very well. And I had a chance to get to kind of know your dad a little bit better in the last, say, 5 years of his life. Got a chance to be around him a good bit, and something interesting that I did not know about him, and we had a conversation one time at the LSU Hall of Fame, was most people are under the assumption that Everybody's All-American is about him.
No.
And he was very adamant that, one, he'd never seen the movie, and not a big fan. And that was something that I did not know. I mean, I knew that it was fictionally based, and I knew that there was things in the movie that weren't accurate to history, but I thought at some point there was so kind of clear the air on that. Explain who the movie is about first.
It was written for a player in the Northeast, and I don't know who the player was, but it was based on a book. And at the time, they were trying to videotape, or they were trying to film the movie on a campus. And the only campus that would allow them to film during a school year, during a football game, an actual game, was LSU. And I don't know how the connection came, but when they came to LSU, what they did was they changed the number, they changed the name to the Gray Ghost. They put, I think it was Louisiana University, and then they were able to film on campus. And people thought it was his life, but it really had nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
But at least if they could get the local audience. I think at one point he read the screenplay and he wasn't interested in stopping it or anything. But I'll tell you this right now, this is the first time I've ever said this publicly, is our family has an LLC, and we've hired someone to do an original screenplay on his life, primarily the last 25 years.
Yeah. That would be cool, because I mean, there's no question. I mean, you could pick any 25 years of your dad's life, and it would be worth a movie.
Always interesting.
But obviously, the redemption story is pretty incredible. Timeline on any of this? I mean, what's realistic?
We have I think a 16 to 18 week timeline, and the screenwriter's been down here once already. Interviewed a lot of people. I took him out to Angola to meet with all those folks out there, and really, to me, I'm proud of his entire life, even the bad stuff that happened in the 80s, which you can't deny happened. But what he did at Angola with those prisoners and the people that were there, who a lot of people just disregard. And I know they got there for something bad. I mean, that's, but he treated them with respect and with kindness and the humanity of it all. I mean, they called him legend. He would just laugh that sideways laugh when they said that, but they really respected him, and he gave them a little bit of hope. And that's why we did his funeral in the PMAC, so that we could live stream it, because they couldn't come.
Gotcha.
And they were so much a part of his life. I mean, when he came in, when they came into his dental clinic, the shackles came off, and they were people. And to some of those people that had been in there 20, 30 years, that had never happened.
Right.
And so they respected him, and we wanted them to be able to see the funeral. So that's why we did it in the PMAC. Otherwise, it would have been a private service.
Right. Okay. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that. And it's pretty interesting. He really enjoyed doing that. You know what I mean? Like, we heard that from other people, but he told me himself that, that brought him a lot of joy, going and giving back and being a doctor.
He didn't like the state bureaucracy, but he liked his job.
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah.
She's Bunnie Cannon, the daughter of the late Dr. Billy Cannon, the first Heisman Trophy winner. When we return after this timeout, we'll talk about the weekend in New York City and what it was like being a part of celebrating Joe Burrow's Heisman Trophy win on the 60th anniversary of LSU's first Heisman Trophy winner. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts right after this. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information. If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rantz.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts presented by LaBerge Casino. If you don't have plans for New Year's Eve or you're not sure what you want to do, go by LaBerge Casino. They throw the best party in all of Baton Rouge. They'll have 3 bands playing throughout the facility. They'll have a great 12 o'clock drop where I'll be emceeing the event. About 2,000 people up in the event center. We'll have a great time. So come on out. Check us out regardless of the weather. LaBerge in Baton Rouge, a great place to be. Joining me is Bunnie Cannon, the daughter of the late Dr. Billy Cannon. She works with the TAF in plan development. And you've been working with TAF a long time, huh?
I've been there about 4 years, but I've been with LSU about 30.
Yeah.
So right after graduation, I think I left a few times, but I always came right back.
So, a lot of people want to know the difference between, say, TAF and alumni. Explain that.
Alumni is mainly the outreach programs for LSU, bringing in the new donors and the masses, doing events. They do scholarships. They obviously have the Lod Cook Hotel and then the conference center. Tiger Athletic Foundation raises money for the athletic program specifically. And so whether it's endowments for the scholarships or if it's for coaches' funds or for different things that they need, it's mostly all the facilities. I think it's been a little bit of a construction company as well because they do a lot of the construction because it can be done really fast.
Sure.
And so we take care of the immediate needs for the athletic department as well as the long-term needs.
How involved were you? I think your dad's statue outside Tiger Stadium is really cool. I love it. It's moving. It's action. I really like that. And it's on the ground. You can stand next to it. You can touch and feel it. Were you involved in that?
Actually, I was involved more than I probably should have been. I think that it was approved. The committee that approved it, Jimmy Field and that group, they approved it to go in, and then they told my dad, and he was thrilled. He never thought he'd have one out there. The only thing he wanted that pose, and he didn't want a helmet, which I thought was really different because he always had a helmet on it. But in all of the photographs, he said he wanted people to see his face.
Okay.
So we met with the athletic department and gave him that information, and then he passed away in May, and then probably in June, I sat down with the artist, and he had already come up with almost the whole thing. The only thing that was needed work was the head. The head it didn't look like him yet.
Right.
But after a series of probably 8 or 10 different versions, it really looks like him a lot.
And what's at the base by his feet? That's
the shot put and the track shoes, because he held the 100-yard dash, I think the state record, but also I think the LSU NCAA record in the 100-yard dash for years. I think it was like 80s or 90s before they broke it. And then the shot put record as well. And so they have all the medals and that near there. The artist wanted people to know his whole story, which I thought was kind of cool because we didn't tell him anything about that.
Right. What was that like for you and your mom when the reveal?
It was sad because he was waiting for the 60th
reunion. Yeah.
And so that's all he wanted to do was make it to the reunion.
Right.
And he knew he knew that he was getting weaker. I mean, I don't think he knew he was going to die that day, but he knew he was getting weaker. And so that's all he wanted to do was make it, not so much to see the statue, but to honor his team with the statue. Because he always honored the team, and that's what is so moving about Joe Burrow is whenever you talk to him, it's not about him, it's about his team. And that's the similarity that we see, is the humbleness and that, while he is appreciative of the award, it really is about the football and the team.
Did your dad have a best friend on the team? I mean, I know he got along with everybody.
Warren Rabb, I think, was the biggest. He loved them all, but I think Warren Rabb was the biggest. For some reason, my dad called Warren Samuel, and my dad's name was not William; it was Billy. And Warren called him William. So whenever they were together, it was Samuel and William, which I never.
That had to be weird for people sitting around.
I never could figure that out. I'm like, that's not Samuel, but.
Well, it was really a need for me because this past year with the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, Max Fugler, one of his great teammates, got inducted. And Warren Rabb was there. I know you and your mom were there, and others from the 58 team were there. And Max, who led the team in minutes played when they won the national championship and was an All-American center. I mean, I've never seen another great player hold someone else in high regard like Max did. I mean, like Max would never say anything negative about your pop, and they loved him to death. And whenever anybody would try to give Max a lot of credit, he'd always defer to Dr. Cannon, I mean, it was incredible, the relationship they had.
But that team was very, very tight, and I do see some similarities to this year's team. And I don't mean to keep going back to the 58 team, but they were a close-knit group. None of them got in trouble. They all loved each other. And then years after, when they would see each other, it was like they never left. and it was truly a friendship. It wasn't just a teammate. I mean, they loved each other.
Right.
And that was cool to see. And then the 60th reunion, my dad wasn't there, but it was like I was looking out across all of them, and they were like little kids. It was the cutest, and I think we've lost 3 since then, but it was the neatest thing to watch.
When you went back this year for Joe Burrow's Heisman, it had to be like a little reunion for you, right? I mean, obviously you know a lot of the Heisman winners. They know you as Dr. Cannon's daughter. You've been there many, many times. It just had to be just an incarnation. I mean, it was just a wonderful weekend.
The neatest thing for me was I've always talked about it to the people that I work with at LSU, but they've never experienced it. And so for them to experience it and to see how big and the importance of this award, that was neat for me to see. Because you can tell people all day long, but they truly don't get it. And it was nice to see. And Joe Burrow's just an amazing kid.
That speech he gave, and granted we're biased. I mean, we're LSU people. It's an LSU speech, but the speech he gave, I really believe it's one of the top 2 or 3 Heisman speeches of all time.
In my opinion, John Cappelletti.
Yeah,
I think,
the Piccolo.
His son. Yeah, his son was. I mean, his brother. No, yeah, his brother had leukemia. Right. Other than that, that was the most touching I've ever seen. But we were honored to meet him. I took my mom to meet him the Tuesday before that weekend, and just meeting him and spending just a few minutes with him. That's him. It's his time to shine, and we can talk about my dad as long as you want to talk about him. But this kid is going places. He's an amazing kid from a great family. And you could tell just by his speech the platform that he's going to have. That Heisman is going to give him the platform to do things that otherwise he wouldn't have. And so I was saying this on a radio show earlier, and I think some people on some other networks were trying to question what I was saying. It's an honor to have it, but it's also a little bit of a burden because you are constantly looked at. And so what I was trying to say is this kid has all the tools necessary to do the great things and the great work. He'll single-handedly save the little town he's in. He'll help LSU. He'll help Baton Rouge. Wherever he chooses to go, he's going to do amazing things because he has it. He already has it in him.
How did your dad handle the requests for pictures and autographs and all that? Because, right now, Joe Burrow, we've never seen a tsunami. He's never seen a tsunami. What's coming, and it's already coming for his life, the way it is now. I mean, I've seen grown men that make, $10 million a year that will pay anything to get, Joe Burrow autographed things, I mean, and right now LSU's kind of put them in a bubble and they're trying to keep everybody away from him. Now, after the 13th, it's Katie bar the door, but then, he'll be able to make money from it.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, your dad lived his whole life as a Heisman Trophy Award winner, and even the struggles that he had off the field, it only made him a bigger star in certain ways. And then the movie, which people assumed was a lot with him, I mean, his legacy is even bigger than just your regular Heisman Trophy winner. So how did he? It had to be times where it was just too much.
He never let it show, though. If you ask anybody who ever met him, he always was so gracious, gave autographs, shook hands. He would sit for hours upon hours at the Alumni Association before games and sign autographs and not leave until everybody had what they came for. He knew when he was in public that he had to act that way, and he liked it. I think he really enjoyed the people, especially as he got older.
Right.
His safe haven was in St. Francisville with his horses, and he called it God's country, and that's where he would get away and rejuvenate. And when you live in Baton Rouge too, he won it in Baton Rouge, but he lived here. You couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape it. And so what you do is you would just wait until all the balls. Would wait until I had a trunk load, and then I'd bring it. Just tell them I can't get it to you tomorrow, but I'll get it to you.
Right.
And we'd put the little sticky note on there, and then I would take them once or twice a month.
Right.
And he would sit there and sign every one of them.
Yeah. The thing about it, I tell people all the time when it comes to Joe Burrow, I said, you would see Bunnie Cannon at the Waffle House. You would see Jimmy Taylor at Mike Anderson's. You're not going to see Joe Burrow.
No.
He lives in Ohio. He's from there. He's going to be playing for the Bengals. So the sightings, the Joe Burrow sightings in the future are going to be very few and far between. It'll be a jersey retirement or a function, or he gets paid $100,000 to come speak at something. So he's going to be living in another state. He's not from here. So it really even almost kind of increase his legend status, if you will, sort of a Shaquille O'Neal thing, like, oh, you see Shaq because he doesn't live here. It's a every once in a while thing. So he'll be able to dodge and weave it a little bit. No, it'll still be a big deal back in Ohio, but
Yeah.
not as big a deal as he is in
No,
Louisiana.
and when he comes back, I mean, he's gonna love it.
Right.
Because I mean, I cannot tell you how impressed I was with not just him but his parents and his brothers. They were so grounded, so kind, and he's just gonna need to keep them close. And just when he comes back here, it'll be a big celebration because people are. I mean, I hate to be that fangirl, but I have to admit he's amazing, and I was
Right.
one of those. I'm one of those fans.
Right.
And so I would push some people out of the way to get his autograph too. I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't. But yeah, he's just special.
Yeah.
And he's, my dad was different. They both won the same award. They have some similarities, but he was different. And I keep trying to say I am happy to talk about my dad. It's an honor to be able to do that, but he's such a different person, and it's a completely different time. He's going to make so much money
Oh, goodness.
in the next few years, and he should.
Right.
My dad at one point in the 60s was the highest paid athlete in the world, and I think he made $50,000 a year.
Right.
And had one, I think he had a Lee Jeans endorsement. That was big.
Right. Right.
So it's really comparable, but not really.
Let me ask you this: being 20 Cannon, does the family get money? The name Cannon on the back of it. How does that work?
No,
because the NCAA is passing the law, the rule in a couple of years, players are going to be able to generate revenue from their likeness. So basically, in the future, if you're a guy like a Joe Burrow, you're a superstar, and LSU has number 9 jerseys being sold while you're playing with your name on the back, you'll be able to make a few bucks. We don't know the logistics of how it's all going to work, but the bottom line is that somebody like your pop, I mean, number 20 jerseys have been selling forever. Obviously, you can't do anything about that. But if it's got your name on it,
right?
I mean,
well, we have our family LLC is Forever Number 20 LLC, and so any future things that happen like that, we'll go through that, and we have a really good attorney that handles all that stuff for us. But like for instance, right now, you could go to the Alumni Association and you can buy a 20 jersey, and it's for their annual fund, and then half of the proceeds go to Taft for his scholarship.
Gotcha.
Anytime LSU wants to use his name or likeness to fundraise or for anything that's going to better LSU, my dad would want that.
Right.
And so LSU.
So he's not going to charge them.
No. We would
right.
never do that. And actually, what we're hoping to do from this movie is not only film it here, but have LSU kids be in it and do different things. And my personal goal, which I know is outrageous, is to give $20 million at some point. Of course, we do not have that now, but at some point through the course of my lifetime, put $20 million into the scholarship endowment so that we can constantly continue to get these players, because I mean we've got a huge bill.
Right. Yeah, people don't understand the economics of what happens behind the scenes. You have to. We have 85 scouts. We got to pay for them. You got to raise money. Now the good news is that there's a TV deal coming down the pipe. Looks like LSU and all SEC schools might make as much as $20 million extra a year with this new TV deal, which would start in 2023. That's pretty good. Talking about the movie potentially down the road about your dad's life, mostly the last 25 years of his life. A couple things. One, Mike Papajohn has to have a role in it, of course.
Absolutely.
And two, do we have a working title yet or anything with the screen? It's still too early?
No, we don't have any of that, but I can tell you the number 20 shows up everywhere. I was at CC's and there was a ladder yesterday that was leaning against the wall and it had a number 20 on it. Everywhere I go, that brings me comfort.
Right.
And I see it. I literally see it everywhere. So I would think 20 will be in there somewhere, but I don't know. But I just think it's incredible that in 2020 we'll have another national championship. And if we play Clemson, that's like the 58 team. So there's a lot of similarities, but
a couple things before we let you go. One, you get the chance. Not only was your dad a legend, but you get a chance now to work with a legend, and Skip Burtman.
Absolutely.
Who's, you said, is your intern, your part-time intern.
I tease him. I'm probably his intern, but
and he just recently had a statue go up, and quite different, obviously, than your dad's version, but still really cool nonetheless. I know you know Skip really well. And of course I do too. And, he's around the same age as your dad, a year older than your dad was when he passed. But, I know you're appreciating being around a guy like that means so much to LSU.
What an honor. I had the opportunity to go to New Orleans with him, and we had a lunch there with some people. And drove him there and drove him back, and the stories, and it really is an honor to spend that time with him in the car, and I can't. There are no words, and I know some of his daughters, and it's just an honor to be around him. It's an honor to spend that time with him, and to have him helping us in plan giving is huge. That there is no amount of money that we could pay for him to be at one of those events.
You know, it's funny because I mean he's still such a legend.
Oh.
You know, as much as he's meant to. I don't know that I think he's meant more to LSU than anyone that's ever been in the athletic department. I know that's a big statement, but when you combined athletic director, emeritus athletic director, and the coaching and all the success, when you his whole body of work from 1983 basically till now, what he's brought and meant to that athletic department, I think he's probably the guy, you know.
And you look at all the things that he did when he was athletic director that are now helping us move to the next level, the priority points. That alone right there has helped us immensely, because how would we navigate this season without it?
Right.
I mean, it would be
he
incredible.
kind of took it for the team, you know, when they brought him in as athletic director and they needed to implement the seat licensing and priority point program. They were like, well, who's going to be the guy? And Skip said, I'll do it. And people, when he explained what it was for and why they needed it, some people didn't like it, but most people got it. You know, it stinks, but this is what we've got to do. What was the coolest thing for you in New York with the Heisman weekend? What the number one thing that stood out to you the most?
I think seeing he and his family after they won it and just how excited they were. They really, I think they have an idea now, but I don't think until then they really knew the magnitude of it. Their whole lives are going to be changed. Their kids are going to be, you know.
Right.
And I did tell Joe Burrow, this was kind of funny. I told him, I said, 60 years from now, you're still going to be known as the Heisman Trophy winner, and your daughter may be doing the same thing I'm doing.
Right.
And I said, so you better make sure she goes to LSU. And he had this big smile on his face. So we're recruiting already.
And you also, you know, the cool thing about the Heisman, you were telling me that forever moving forward, every Heisman Trophy winner gets 2 complimentary tickets to all the events of the weekend. And one of them, which I didn't really know about much until this year, was the gala on Sunday night, which seems like it was phenomenal. Tell me about that.
Unbelievable. They have they usually have 60 or 70 tables there. They had over 80 this year because it's LSU, and people at the last minute were selling tables and buying tickets. But that's where they raise their money. That's where the sponsors come in, and they raise their money for the Heisman Trust.
Was it $10,000 a ticket? Is that right?
Something like
I thought
that.
it was $10,000 roughly per ticket. That's incredible.
I think it was if you bought a package, that you could buy a package, and but it was wild. I mean, it was. But they do a lot of good things, and then I think they have a sponsor that gave away a car, and one of the people we went with actually won the car, so that was fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Of all the past Heisman Trophy winners, obviously not picking your father, do you have a favorite? When you go back every year, do you have someone that's your favorite?
I have to say the funniest one. There's 3 actually, and I think they're all Nebraska. Mike Rozier, George Rogers, and Johnny Rogers.
Well, George Rogers was South Carolina.
South Carolina, that's right.
Johnny was Nebraska as well.
Because they knew my father so well.
Okay.
And
running backs.
And he loved them, and they would just tease and joke with each other. And going back to see them this time was a lot of fun. But, you know, they're all wonderful people.
Right. What is up with Billy Sims' jackets? He's a different character, isn't he?
He is different, but he's funny. He is really funny. I don't know him as well.
Right.
But, yeah, every year you can look and see.
Anytime you look at the stage and you go, who is that guy? That's Billy Sims.
He had his name in his picture.
Was that what it was on his jacket?
Yeah, with his afro on it. It was the picture, and then it had his name, like a chicken restaurant, Billy Sims.
Oh, that's too funny.
He's pretty good. But they're all such wonderful people. And I got to know them after their career, so it's a little different. And I don't know all of them, but just wonderful people. And Joe Burrow he's going to fit right in.
One last thing, Paul Hornig was there. I'm sure you know he and your dad knew each other very, very well.
Yep.
One of the more controversial award winners. Everybody knows Jim Brown should have won it, but Paul Hornig was at Notre Dame. Did he have any thoughts or words? Did you talk to him?
No, he was. I just said hi, and I introduced myself again because I didn't.
He's getting up there a little bit.
Me. Yeah, and he just talked about my dad a little bit, but it wasn't. We were kind of hurried, and we were standing in line actually to get into the presentation.
It's quite different now. Now it's a big TV production. It's in a theater. Before it was just a little bitty room, which kind of was charming. You know that it was just such a room. Now it's still charming. It's not a giant, assembly center or PMAC kind of thing.
They try to keep it a little intimate. as much as you can.
The LSU contingency was a little more rowdy than your normal Heisman contingency.
Ooh,
they were cheering and yelling during the whole time.
We had a great time. Had a great time.
Well, Bunnie, thanks so much for sharing some stories. Merry Christmas to you and your mom. And I know this is a special, special time. You said you're not going to Atlanta, but you'll be there in New Orleans.
I'll be there, and I predict we're going to beat Clemson.
Okay, I like it.
My prediction.
If they play Clemson, I mean, either one, Ohio State or Clemson is going to be a tough one. But I do look forward to maybe playing Clemson. LSU, by the way, does have Clemson in the future and a little home and home coming up in a few years.
And they beat them in 58. So
That's right. That's right.
Never know.
We'll take a break. When we come back, former LSU linebacker Darry Beckwith will join us. She's Bunnie Cannon. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts right after this. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information. If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rantz.
How much time? Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts presented by LeBears. Merry Christmas to everyone out there, and really thanks to Bunnie Cannon, who joined us the last couple of segments, the daughter of the late, great Dr. Billy Cannon. And joining me is a guy who came this close to getting on that Heisman ballot back in the day, former linebacker Darry Beckwith. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Nowhere near close to being on a Heisman ballot. I played with Glenn Dorsey, so that was the closest that I got on a ballot.
You saw what it took to get on the ballot.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about Joe Burrow winning the Heisman. I mean, what was that like for you to see him up there on stage and LSU really being celebrated all week with national awards?
It was a great feeling. Obviously, I wasn't there getting presented the Heisman Trophy, but you felt a sense of pride being a part of their program, even in the past. If you talk to any past players, we felt like we were on the stage with Joe Burrow. That was a proud moment, the way he conducted himself, the way he carried himself, and just the humility that he showed. And for us, obviously LSU has been trending far as one of the best programs in the country, and for him winning the Heisman Trophy just solidified that LSU is here to stay and here to stay for a long time.
I saw a statistic of the last 20 seasons, LSU's won 10 games 11 times. That's pretty incredible, and that puts them, I believe, fourth as far as programs in the country with that number of wins ahead of them. They were ahead of Clemson and people like that. So yeah, you're right. The program is trending forward, but this is the greatest of times for LSU football. This is what all future teams will be judged against. It can't possibly get any better. You're 12-0, you've been dominant, and you literally won every award. Right. Receiver, the DB, offensive line, quarterback. They didn't win the running back, but yet Clyde is considered one of the top 3 or 4 running backs in the country. It's amazing the trophy haul that this team has put together so far.
It is. It was a clean sweep. You know, in the past, we always felt like LSU from the media and everybody was kind of being disrespected nationally. And so to finally get the recognition that they deserve, I am so happy for the offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Just because going to the year, everybody talked about that was the weak point of the team. And nobody thought this year, nobody really talked about them. They were kind of under the radar. But as the games, the more the games were meant to like the Florida games, the Auburn games, and all these type of games that were big. Alabama, those linemen played well, and they played well together. I heard somebody mention in the past, they don't have one superstar, but one thing about the old linemen, if you can play well together, which they do, the sky's the limit. So I'm extremely excited for those guys. And I mean, I don't know, is there any other awards left for them to get? I mean, I think pretty much they got everything. So this is a great time to be a part of the LSU football program. And like I said, Coach O, kudos to him. People didn't want him. They wanted the big name. Mm-hmm. And thank God we didn't get Tom Herman or somebody like that, right? You know, but you just never know. And this is a guy who's genuine. He's passionate. And the reason I think he's going to be successful, it was a clip. I know you remember this in the Auburn game where he's talking to the D lineman from Auburn, about how he recruited them. And that just shows you the type of person he is. Because a lot of coaches, when they recruit you, they blow up trust and they blow a lot of smoke. Right. A lot of smoke. And Orgeron recruited me when he's at Ole Miss. When he talked to you, like, I was this close. Like, you know, I might want to sound with Ole Miss, you know. Right. It's nothing in Oxford, but just the way he is and how genuine, and you can tell his compassion that he has for his kids.
Yeah, you're talking about that Auburn moment after the game. He went up to them and hey, big fella, and he gave him a hug and he said, I told you when I recruited you, you were going to be a great one, you know, and you are. And yeah, that means a lot because a lot of times, you know, when you don't get a guy, you're bitter.
Right.
Speaking of recruiting, how about I mean, it's amazing to me. And people always, recruiting is not my bag, right? Like once they get here, then we can talk about them. You know, same with baseball or any sport because baseball's the hardest. I mean, okay, once you get them, now you got to fight the Major League Baseball draft if they're really exceptional, and then you got to sweat that out for a month or two to see if they come. But in football, you know, here are guys, and nobody recruits as good as I mean, LSU's as good as they come as far as recruiting goes. I mean, whether they're ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, doesn't matter. They do it as well as you can. They have all the tools. They understand how to play the game. They've got a head coach who's a great recruiter, but yet it's still not an exact science. They put their head on that pillow going into the final day thinking they've got 23 guys, and they end up with 19. And these 17, 18-year-old kids, you know, I don't want to use the word lie, but they misled, or at least they believed Friday night at 11 o'clock or whatever the last time was they talked to them that they were going to be a Tiger, and the next day they went someplace else. I just don't understand how that happens.
I think when I was getting recruited, it was a lot more – you were a lot more committed to your word.
Right.
I think now with a lot of the national attention that these guys get, the media attention that they get, I believe a lot of these recruits are capitalizing on this opportunity to do certain things and kind of brand themselves in a sense. I think they had the guy, Raheem Jarrett, the receiver, who was committed for a long time. Then the last minute he switches and goes to Maryland because he wants to stay close to home. But what these kids see too as well, if he's coming in as a freshman, he may see somebody like a Derek Stingley Jr. having the impact as a true freshman. In his mind, he may think, well, I could come in and have an impact as well. But he's probably looking at the receiver core for what LSU has as far as, you know, Jamar Chase, possibly Justin Jefferson coming back, and Terrace Marshall coming back. And so a lot of these guys think they can come in and have impact as true freshmen. Like I said, with the attention that they are getting, is kind of I believe they are capitalizing on that media attention. Oh, let me switch. Let me go here. Oh, let me go there. Let me go here. Let me go there. It kind of builds a buzz around the name, and in a sense does brand them. As far as I was getting recruited, you just, you know, you committed.
Either that, or it could be like Eric Dickerson back in the day, who said car and a bag of cash ended up at his house. Just saying.
I'm not getting into that.
Just saying. I mean, you know, but like, you know, the Jared, who wound up going to Maryland, you know, that one doesn't bother you that much because Maryland's never going to compete with LSU. And, you know, if we want to make it good, clean, and wholesome and just say he wanted to stay close to home, okay, great. Well, I'll go with that. And you know what? That's fine.
I don't believe that.
But he's basically going to be irrelevant. Right. You know, he might put up great numbers and all, but he'll be playing in the Holiday Bowl at best or something like that. You know, whatever. Whereas, you know, the receiver from California that's going to Georgia, that's a little different. That one stings a little bit more. But we shall see. I mean, LSU's going to end up with a top 5 recruiting class, and let's face it, whether you're 1, 3, or 4 or 5 doesn't really make that much of a difference. Nick Saban once said, the difference between a 4-star and a 5-star is simply that the 5-star is more developed physically than a 4-star.
Right.
Doesn't mean that the 4-star won't be developed to that level in another year or two.
Right.
It just means that guy, 6'5", 250 versus 6'5", 230.
Right.
And now the guy's going to be 250 in a year and a half.
Exactly.
I mean, like, that's really all that those stars mean, is that the other guy is just more mature physically at that moment.
Right.
So, but it's just interesting to me how LSU still can get fooled as well as they are, as good as they are at the recruiting, how they can still get the wool pulled over their eyes.
I know, but at the end of the day, like you mentioned, it's not a big difference between a 4 or 5-star. It's about when you get those guys on campus, how you can develop them.
Yeah.
And I believe Coach O does a great job of getting guys who's going to fit his system. If you look in the past history, I think some of the most prominent players that have come to LSU have been 3 to 4-star guys.
Right.
Like you had a sprinkle of 5-star guys there, the Patrick Petersons and guys like that. But for the majority, Glenn Dorsett was a 4-star. Tyrann Mathieu was a 3-star. The list goes on and on.
Right.
That guys that have come through there, it's about when you get there, how do you develop? I've played with guys who were 5-stars and just couldn't develop.
Right. I mean, Jacob Hester, another guy, I don't know, 3 stars,
right?
Probably,
Probably 1.5 stars. Sorry, Jacob, if you listen. but no, it's just phenomenal players. Craig Steltz was a 3 or 4-star guy.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys who came through, developed. And a lot of times, so when you get guys like that, they come with a chip on their shoulder.
Sure.
In a sense where I wasn't recruited, so I'm gonna put in the extra work, the extra time to make sure that I am successful and capitalize on every opportunity that I have at this university.
He's Darry Beckwith, of course, played for the Tigers and then played in the NFL. Your old team, the San Diego Chargers, now the Los Angeles Chargers. Do you think, I know this is just a gut, but man, Phillip Rivers, do you think this is it?
I believe so. I think it comes to a point in time you have to just look in the mirror. Like, look, I had an exceptional career. Let me just go off to the sunset, like literally go off to the sunset in L.A.
When you don't need the money.
No,
I mean, it's different if you're
unless
a guy.
he's fighting for a Super Bowl.
But the Chargers are nowhere near a Super Bowl team, and he's got like a dozen kids or something like that, literally, maybe 10. I think he's got 9 or 10 kids.
Golly.
So maybe he does play. Now that I'm thinking about it, he got 10 kids, but largely because you just don't want to be home. He got 10 kids.
I know, man.
But the point is, the guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know. Sometimes, Jacob has to play with him and friends with him, seems to think he will retire after the end of this year. That's what his gut tells him. He doesn't have any inside scoop, but he believes he will retire. I just don't want to see a guy like Phillip Rivers hang around. That's the thing we don't want to see of our heroes, right? Of the great players. We don't want to see them hang around too long and it start to take away from their reputation or the great career that they had.
That's the thing. Like you don't want a guy have to tarnish, like you said, tarnish his reputation.
Legacy,
Like somebody like Barry Sanders retired in 8 years. Yeah. There's nothing you could say nothing negative about Barry Sanders as far as his playing career. And you don't want that to happen to Phillip Rivers. Even Peyton Manning his last year with the Broncos, Peyton Manning really didn't win the Super Bowl. Their defense was just phenomenal.
Defense was amazing.
And he just kind of
his leadership, he managed them through.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I would like to Phillip go on a high road, on a high note. He's an incredible guy. Even people think he talks a lot of noise, a lot of trash, but that's who he is. But at the end of the day, he's a great guy. He'll go down as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll continue. We'll talk a little LSU Peach Bowl, LSU Oklahoma next with Darry Beckwith, former LSU Tiger linebacker, right after this. Sports Shorts presented by LaBears. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rantz.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Shorts presented by LaBear's Casino. LaBear's Casino, the place to be for New Year's Eve. So if you don't have plans or you haven't figured out what you're going to do yet, make sure you go to LaBear's Casino for New Year's Eve. Going to be fantastic. 3 different bands throughout the facility, and we'll have the big ball drop at midnight as well. Darry Beckwith joining us. We had Bunnie Cannon on a little bit early on, talking Joe Burrow winning the Heisman and some stories on her dad. Darry Beckwith, of course, was a part of the Tiger program and won some championships. And, you know, here we are, LSU this year is as good as it gets, but they still got some work to be done. Different than the BCS era where you won it. It's kind of like we're not even talking about them winning an SEC championship. We went right to Heisman, and now we're right on to the Peach Bowl, and it's like we just skipped over the fact that they won the toughest league in the country. But so is life. Now they're going on to take an Oklahoma team. They're a 2-touchdown favorite in this game. News comes out that Clyde Edwards-Helaire pulls his hamstring. We don't know to what degree or what level, but we know that he may or may not play. And even if he does play, have you ever pulled your hamstring?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and talk about that injury.
It's one of those injuries where it's very nagging, and it's really the only thing that cures a hamstring is rest. When I mean rest, I literally rest.
Like nothing.
Nothing. And you can do a little rehab, ice and stem, but that's the type of injury for Clyde. He has to be careful because let's just say I believe LSU can still win this game without Clyde, to me. And if he does play this game and re-aggravates it, I would hate for him, the type of season that he's had, the type of kid that he is, to miss out an opportunity to be close to 100% for the national championship game. So if I was him, if it's any lingering or any kind of pain, I would sit this one out because you still have another week,
2 weeks,
2 weeks to heal.
Yeah.
So you healing this week. That's 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks for healing. I believe I would sit this one out and then be close to 100% for the national championship game in New Orleans.
15, 16 days
yes, man.
between the semifinal and the finals. So, I would be stunned, shocked, and amazed if he ends up playing in this game. Although they did have video of him getting on the team bus, no crutches. He didn't seem to have any sort of limp.
Right.
But there's a big difference between getting on a bus and playing running back.
Oh, my God. Right.
So I think LSU's keeping it close to the vest, barring some sort of Hallmark movie miracle. I don't expect them to play, but I do agree with you. They have more than enough weapons to be able to outscore Oklahoma.
Oh, without a doubt, with the receiver depth that they have, and I do believe a guy like Chris Curry, I think, who's been chomping at the bits to get his opportunity. Because I've seen this guy when he has gotten quote-unquote mop-up duty, runs like he's extremely angry, runs extremely angry. So I do believe they have enough horses in the stable to be successful and still put up enough points to beat Oklahoma.
I think about Leonard Fournette, who quit early on in the season, and he would be the guy, right? And the thing about Fournette versus a lot of these other young backs is what we haven't seen out of these young backs yet is the versatility, right? To be able to pass block, to be able to catch out of the backfield, to be able to do it all. And largely we haven't seen them do it because they haven't needed them to do it. They've had Clyde. But, have you played with guys that, were pretty good that quit in the middle of the season? You ever have one of those scenarios?
Yeah, every year. It's almost a turnaround. Like every year you have a guy who gets upset or disgruntled. I remember I had a guy that signed me in 2005, Antonio Robinson, a great friend of mine out of Winfield. And he quit, I think, the second game. Going to my sophomore year, when we play Arizona, he quit just because of playing time. He ended up transferring. But a guy for me like Fournette, I never could understand it because he did get some playing time against Texas.
Right.
And I don't know what happened. They say he just lost the love of the game. You know, and I believe there's more to that. He may have wanted to be the starter for whatever reason. But you always going to have guys like that every year who's going to quit. You know who I'm really disgruntled about? It's Kelvin Joseph. The guy that transferred to Kentucky. And
he would have played a lot this year, as it turned out.
I don't know why. I don't know what the situation was. Like, I think what happened.
It was weird. It started in the spring, carried over into the summer.
Like with Derek Stingley coming in. Now, Derek Stingley is a once-in-a-generation type of player. You're not going to beat him out. But as far as different packages that we could have used you in,
been a nickel and dime.
Nickel and dime. And think about it. You're really a starter because nobody's coming out in 21 and 12 personnel anymore. Everything is 11 personnel, 10 personnel. So a nickel and dime is going to be on the field. And I know for him, he has to be like a knife in his stomach to realize how successful this team has been. He would have been a huge part of it because the guy has great ability, and he's playing for Kentucky. So I think about guys like that who could have had a huge impact. I can understand if you wouldn't have an impact, but this guy was having a playing time and just decided to transfer to Kentucky.
Look, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, man, you're impulsive and you make decisions that are not always the wisest. And unless you have a really strong home base mom, dad figure that says, no, you're not going to leave. Listen, I don't know. There's very few players that ever go through their college career and don't have down times or don't have times where you question, A, your ability, or B, is this the right place for me to be? And it doesn't even matter to sport, and particularly your first year or two. You know, that's the hardest part. So, it's as much support and as much info as these people have. I think nowadays with social media and guys' ego, and they talk so much trash before they ever get to college. You know what I mean? Before they ever get to college, they have, you know, they're a star and they have a brand and all this stuff. And so what happens is their ego doesn't allow them to be a backup. It doesn't allow them to redshirt. It doesn't allow them to maybe not play for a couple of years. You know what I mean? And they used to not be the case 15, 20, 30 years ago. Now, if I don't play if I'm redshirting, that's an insult. And there's a lot of great players that, man, what would they have been like if they'd have had that extra year?
Right.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've had that situation where my freshman year, like I want to take off my shoulder pads and helmet and his leave because I can remember when I first got there as a freshman, we didn't have any pads on. I mean, Ronnie, I'm just running around making plays, just looking good in shorts and a helmet. I remember the first day we put 4 pads on, and they put me in, and that's when we had Joseph Haddad, they had Big Will Arnold, Whitworth. I remember, like it was yesterday, the ball was snapped. It was an inside drill. The ball was snapped. I didn't move. I didn't move at all. I don't think I saw Joseph Haddad running back to the huddle. I said, what happened? And they ran the play. I didn't move. That's how fast it was.
Right.
And at that particular moment, I said, do I really belong here? Like, is this for me? I didn't move. The ball snapped so fast. And all I saw was Joseph Haddad running back to the huddle. I was like, what happened? I think I got
Play's over.
Play's over. I got yelled at. What are you doing? Like, I don't remember anything at all. I said, this is not for me. I can remember going to my sophomore year. I had a pretty good game against Arizona, but the next game was against Auburn. And Ali Highsmith was my roommate during the season for the games. And I was literally the night before and the morning before that game, I was sweating and asking him so many questions. I was so nervous. I said, Ali, this is not Arizona. I said, this is Auburn. I said, what to expect? I said, how does Kenny Irons run? Is he fast? Is he strong? Is he physical? I'm not joking. I'm literally, and he was just sitting in his bed. All of a sudden, he just snaps like, bruh, shut up. He's like, it's football. He said, you're going to be fine. I promise you. And obviously, I was. But you do have those doubts, man. I get it. Like I said, with social media, it just amplified even more.
It's hard for these guys to just understand, man. You're going to have those struggles, and it's natural. It's okay. Everybody goes through it. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. I mean, a guy for 3 years was irrelevant, and then finally, he breaks out and wins a Heisman. Last thing before we let you go, LSU, Oklahoma. Key to LSU to win this game. How does it have to go for them?
I do believe that their defense has to build on the momentum that they've had the past couple of games. Played exceptional against A&M, played exceptional against Georgia. So for them, the key is to make sure that they come out and are laser focused and not allow Jalen Hurts to get yards on the ground. Obviously, if you go back to if I'm Oklahoma, I'm looking at the Ole Miss film. And if I have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts who can hurt you with his legs, I'm going to basically copycat what Ole Miss did and come out. So because when you get to that point, it's basically man on man. And so I believe LSU has to limit the amount of yards that Jalen Hurts gets on the ground. And don't give up. You're going to have to play 4 quarters against Oklahoma, especially somebody like Jalen Hurts because of the experience that he does have and the composure that he plays with. He's not going to quit. So I believe our offense is going to get points. So I believe the key is going to be the defense.
Well, Oklahoma's defense has suffered a few losses with some suspensions and injuries, so the Tigers should be able to move the ball pretty effectively. Darry, thanks so much, man. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Sir.
Thanks to Bunnie Cannon. What a pleasure it was to visit with her early on in the show. Don't forget Sports Shorts Radio Saturday mornings from 10 to noon. This Saturday, though, we'll be on early, 7 and 9, live from Atlanta. So check us out each and every week. Sports Shorts TV and Radio, presented by LeBears Casino.
Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information. If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase. Sports fans, you don't want to miss the biggest celebration of the summer. It's the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Induction Weekend in Natchitoches, June 25th through 27th. The 2020 Hall of Fame class features legendary sports figures Joe Horn, Nick Saban, Phil Robertson, and many more. Log on to lasportshall.com for more ticket information.